So, uh, getting ready to dive into a Seafaring D&D campaign.
Always a good choice.
Yeah, there's something about the ocean, the salt spray, the sense of adventure just around the horizon.
Oh, for sure. Definitely a theme with a ton of potential.
Right. I mean, where do you even begin? Luckily, we've got some great source material for this deep dive. 20 nautical adventure ideas for Seafaring D&D campaigns.
Great source. And what I found interesting right off the bat was the emphasis on the ocean itself, like it's a character.
Okay, now that's a cool concept. How do you actually make the ocean more than just a backdrop, though?
It's all about making it dynamic, unpredictable, like instead of just some random encounter table, what if the ocean's mood is like actively shaping the campaign?
I see what you mean. So, like, one night you've got these bioluminescent waves, maybe they even reveal clues or something, and then the next night they churn into this crazy storm,
Yeah.
making ship travel impossible.
Exactly. Or imagine, right, your players stumble across this phantom island, shrouded in mist, looks super promising,
Okay.
and just as they're getting ready to land, it vanishes. Gone with the morning tide.
Ooh, that's spooky. I like it.
It creates that sense of mystery, like the ocean's holding its breath, deciding when to reveal its secrets.
Like the ocean's a player at the table with its own, like, motivations and everything. I love it.
Right.
But we need some concrete adventures too, right?
Right.
This source has 20. 20.
Yeah, it can be a bit overwhelming.
Just a tad. So how do we choose which ones to focus on?
I think we should focus on the ones that really highlight, like, the core elements of a good seafaring campaign. Different aspects, like take the Kraken's Grass, for example.
Okay, because who doesn't love a good kraken?
Right.
But I'm guessing there's a twist here. It's not just a straight-up monster fight.
Definitely not. So picture this. Coastal town, terrorized by a Kraken. Classic setup, but defeating it. Not just about brute force.
There's got to be something more to it.
What if the key is the solitary sailor?
Okay.
Maybe a little eccentric. The only one who remembers this ancient Kraken vanishing ritual.
Oh, now that's interesting. So you've got history there, potential backstory, maybe even a personal connection between the sailor and the kraken itself.
See? And to make it even better, what if the ritual requires a cursed artifact?
Oh, nice. So now there's a moral dilemma, too.
Unleash a potentially dangerous artifact, or let the Kraken destroy the town.
Tough choices.
Yeah.
I like it. That's what makes for a great campaign.
For sure.
And speaking of things that make for a great campaign, I know every good seafaring tale needs a ghost ship. And it looks like this source delivers with Ghost Ship of the Forbidden Waters.
Oh, that's a good one. I love how this one flips the script a bit.
How so?
Well, it's not just another fight, you see. The real challenge is uncovering why the ghosts are even on the ship. Each one has a story, a reason they're bound there.
So instead of just fighting them off, you're trying to help them find peace.
Exactly. Maybe they're searching for something they lost at sea or need to right a wrong.
So the players could find a captain's log or a locket with a portrait, and then...
They start piecing together these lost lives. It adds a whole other dimension to the adventure.
Ooh, now that's how you turn a classic trope into something really special. And speaking of classic tropes, we can't forget about sirens. And it looks like the siren's call gets flipped on its head, too.
Right. Instead of luring sailors to their doom, this siren's call is a cry for help.
But that is an intriguing twist. What could possibly threaten a creature that powerful?
What if they're being held captive?
By what?
Something even more powerful. Maybe a celestial being. Or a fallen god. And that siren song, once so beautiful, is now warped into this mournful plea for freedom.
Oh, whoa, that completely changes the dynamic. Now, instead of avoiding the siren, the players are drawn to it, wanting to help.
Right.
And I bet that help doesn't come easy.
Of course not. Think treacherous reefs, illusions created by this powerful being. It becomes a test for the players, their compassion, their skills.
Could they even challenge a god?
Maybe.
I'm already getting chills just thinking about it. Okay, but we've got to talk about the ocean's heart. An artifact that can control the tides. Come on, that's like ultimate power.
Right. Control the tides, control the seas. But it's not going to be easy.
Oh, I'd imagine not.
The source mentions it being guarded by something ancient, immensely powerful, like a primordial sea serpent.
Oh, I can already picture that showdown. But obtaining that kind of power, there's got to be a cost.
There always is. What if using the ocean's heart requires a sacrifice?
Ooh.
And not just any sacrifice, something that really tests the player's morals, makes them question what they're willing to do for this power.
That adds a whole other layer of complexity. It's not just go here, fight this anymore. It's like a descent into myth and moral ambiguity. Speaking of mythic, we've got to talk about the voyage through the Zephyr Isles.
Yeah.
Okay, Zephyr Isles, it sounds
Meh.
pleasant.
Deceptively so.
Okay, why? What am I missing?
Imagine islands, right, but they actually float among the clouds, held aloft by air spirits?
So we're talking mischievous sprites, powerful elementals, or...
Maybe a bit of both. Whimsical, sure, but also incredibly powerful, and more than a little bit tricky.
Of course they are.
Your players will need more than brute force to navigate this one. They'll need wit, humor, maybe even a good song or two to win over these air spirits.
I love that. That's such a fun change of pace.
Right.
1 minute you're battling a kraken, the next you're trying to charm a mischievous air spirit.
Variety is key. Keeps things interesting. And you never know what kind of secrets or treasures might be hidden on those cloud-kissed islands.
That's why I love seafaring campaigns. The possibilities are endless. The ocean is like this vast, mysterious playground for storytelling.
Totally.
But let's be real. No seafaring campaign is complete without a little bit of actual seafaring, right?
Of course not.
I mean, we can't just have krakens and magical artifacts. We've got to give our players a taste of what it was actually like to live on the open ocean.
I think that's where the immersion really kicks in, you know? Think about the everyday challenges. Assigning crew roles, weathering a sudden storm.
Trying to cook a decent meal while the ship is being tossed around like a bathtub toy.
Exactly. Those little details make all the difference.
You really do.
But it's not all about the practicalities, right?
Yeah.
We need those factions, those rivalries. A little bit of intrigue to spice things up.
All right, let's talk factions. We've got to have pirates, obviously.
Naturally. But let's think beyond the classic swashbuckler.
Okay, so what other kinds of pirates are there?
Well, you've got your ruthless raiders, of course, but what about a secret society of pirates who follow a strict code of honor?
Ooh, like Robin Hoods of the sea.
Exactly. They steal from the corrupt and give to the poor.
I love them already.
And then there's always those who dwell beneath the waves.
Ooh.
Merfolk kingdoms, ancient sea hags, they all have a part to play.
Mermaids could be such interesting characters. Are they allies, or are they fierce protectors of their domain?
Maybe a little of both, depending on the day. And let's not forget about the other supernatural elements. Enchanted islands, haunted shipwrecks, those always add a nice layer of depth and danger, of course.
So we've got pirates, mermaids, ghost ships. What else can we throw at our players?
What about hidden temples?
Underwater.
Submerged beneath the waves, filled with forgotten knowledge, guarded by ancient curses.
And probably some kind of monstrous guardian or two.
Obviously.
Speaking my language. This is why I love brainstorming seafaring campaigns. The possibilities are endless.
Right. The ocean's a blank slate.
It really is. You can do anything with it.
The key is to weave these elements, all these amazing creatures and locations, into the fabric of your campaign, make it feel like a living, breathing world.
A world full of wonder and danger. You've given me so much to think about already. But I feel like we've only just dipped our toes into the water here.
Oh, we've barely scratched the surface of what this source has to offer.
I can't wait to dive back in. All right, so we've got our players sailing the high seas, facing down krakens, charming air spirits, the works. But how do we keep the tension high when they're not, locked in an epic battle or exploring some uncharted island?
Well, that's where this idea of the fear of the unknown comes in. This is something the source really emphasizes.
Okay, and it makes sense, right?
The ocean is vast, dark, full of things you really wouldn't want to meet on dry land, let alone in the depths.
You're not just talking about the occasional shark attack here, are you?
Think bigger, more psychological.
Okay, now you've got my attention. Give me an example.
Okay, so your players, they're sailing through this thick fog, right? Tension's thick enough to cut with a cutlass.
Naturally.
And then a low groan echoes across the water. Something massive is moving beneath their ship.
See, that's what I'm talking about. That sense of dread that anything could be lurking beneath the waves. That's good stuff.
Let their imaginations run wild for a bit,
Perfect.
Is it a sea monster? A shipwreck come to life? The not knowing is often scarier than the monster itself.
So true. Although, eventually those players are going to need a break from all the terror. A place to rest, restock their supplies, maybe tell a tall tale or two. The source mentions having a home port. Is that what they mean?
It's more than just a safe haven, though. It's a character in its own right. Think bustling, colorful NPCs.
Okay, I'm picturing salty sailors, shrewd merchants, maybe even a shady underbelly of smugglers and spies.
Exactly. And this is where the player's choices really come into play.
Oh, how so?
Well, Say they make a name for themselves fighting off pirates. Word might reach back to their home port, right? They get back, suddenly they're heroes, discounts at the tavern, that sort of thing.
But if they cross the wrong people...
There might be a bounty on their heads when they sail back into port.
Ooh, I like that.
Huh.
So their home port becomes a reflection of their actions.
A living, breathing place that changes with their reputation.
Hmm.
Do they want to be heroes, champions of the port, or do they embrace a more, shall we say, roguish path?
That is such a cool dynamic. And I bet those factions we talked about earlier, they all play a role here too.
Absolutely. The players could align themselves with the city guard, maybe help protect trade routes, or they join forces with a local pirate lord, raid a merchant ship or two, start building their own fleet.
It's like you said earlier, the ocean becomes this stage for their ambitions, and their home port is the audience. I love that.
Adds so much depth. But we are talking about D&D here. We need those game mechanics.
Exactly. Rules, dice rolls, that's what brings it all to life. And it looks like the source has some good stuff for us, starting with naval combat.
The classic ship-to-ship battle. But it's more than just cannons blazing, you know?
Yeah, there's got to be strategy involved.
Positioning is key. Wind direction. Tactics.
So like a flanking maneuver to maximize your firepower, or catching the wind in your sails for a burst of speed?
Exactly. Or what about using, like, specialized ammunition?
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Chain shot to cripple a ship's mast, Greek fire to, set the deck ablaze.
Okay, now we're talking. And don't forget, the player's ship, it's not just a set piece. It can level up too, right?
Of course. Reinforced hulls, faster sails.
Maybe even some magical enhancements. Ooh, what about a figurehead enchanted with protective magic?
Or a crow's nest that grants the user enhanced vision.
Okay, I'm stealing all of these ideas. This is great. But as much fun as ship combat is, we also need to give our players a chance to explore, right?
Exploration is key. It's all about that thrill of discovery.
Give them those old faded maps.
Maps with missing pieces, rumors of uncharted islands.
Whispers of hidden coves where legendary treasures are stashed.
And of course, no treasure map is complete without a few hazards along the way.
Right. Treacherous reefs, sudden storms.
Ooh, what about a whirlpool? Appears out of nowhere, threatens to suck the ship down into a network of underwater caves.
And those caves could lead to anything. A lost city, a monstrous creature's lair.
A portal to another plane of existence.
Okay, see, now that's what I'm talking about. This is why I love seafaring campaigns. The possibilities are endless.
Right.
But let's zoom back in for a second. Let's talk about those NPCs.
What about them?
The source talks about giving them nautical flair, which sounds great, but what does that actually look like in practice?
It's about thinking beyond the eye patches and parrots, although those are classics for a reason.
Of course.
But we want to give these NPCs histories that are shaped by the sea, motivations that run a little deeper than just find gold, fight monsters,
Give me an example. I need to hear this.
Okay, so picture this. A grizzled old sailor. He's tending bar in the player's home port. Seems harmless enough, right?
Yep.
But maybe he's a retired pirate captain, haunted by some past betrayal. He's got a piece of a treasure map, see? But he's not giving it up easily.
He's seen too much, lost too much.
The players are going to have to earn his trust. Maybe even help him find some measure of peace before he even thinks about parting with his secrets.
Oh, no, that's good stuff. I love it. Okay, what else?
Or they encounter a siren. Right, classic seafaring encounter.
Right.
But this time, she's not trying to lure them to their deaths. She needs their help. There's an ancient curse on her people, placed on them by a jealous sea witch, and she needs the players to break it.
Oh, so now you're messing with their expectations. This siren's not a monster. She's desperate. Vulnerable, even.
Exactly. It adds a whole other layer to the encounter.
Those are the moments that really elevate a campaign, where the players connect with the NPCs on a personal level,
Couldn't agree more. But we can't forget about the monsters entirely.
Bring on the beasties. What kind of terrifying creatures can we unleash on our players?
Well, we've got to have those colossal sea serpents, right? Bioluminescent scales, capable of crushing a ship with a flick of their tail.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Or how about mischievous water sprites? But instead of being helpful, they lure sailors astray. Enchanting songs, illusions, you name it. And then when they least expect it.
Bam. They reveal their true monstrous forms.
You got it.
Okay, but I have a soft spot for krakens.
Of course. But let's get a little creative with it. What about a colony of Sahuagin?
Those shark-like humanoids.
The very same. But they've gotten their hands on an artifact, see? This artifact gives them control over the tides.
Oh, come on, that's terrifying. Controlling the tides, my players would be scrambling to stop that.
And don't forget about the magic. Underwater temples filled with forgotten knowledge.
Guarded by ancient curses and monstrous guardians.
Naturally. Or, how about this? A magical maelstrom that acts as a portal to another plane of existence.
Another plane. Filled with what?
Bizarre creatures, untold dangers, who knows?
Oh, the possibilities.
The key is to weave these elements, all these supernatural elements, into the campaign world. Make the ocean feel like a place where magic is real.
Where wonder and danger go hand in hand.
Precisely.
You know, you're making me want to ditch this recording studio and set sail myself.
I know, right?
But there's still so much more to uncover. We haven't even talked about the challenges and rewards of exploration, the dangers of survival at sea.
Oh, we've only just begun to chart these waters.
Sounds like we've got our work cut out for us.
Yeah.
We've talked about epic battles, ancient artifacts, mythical creatures, all that good stuff. But what about just surviving at sea? I mean, it's a harsh mistress out there.
Absolutely. The source even talks about adding survival elements to your campaigns.
Which, you know, sounds cool, but a little intense maybe.
It's all about finding that balance.
Yeah.
You want the excitement, but we also want a little bit of realism, right?
Right.
I mean, the ocean is unforgiving, supplies dwindle, storms pop up out of nowhere, and then there's always the whole navigation thing.
Yeah, no GPS on the high seas.
Yeah.
How do you make navigation more interesting than just, like, marking an X on a map?
Think about what they would have had back then. The stars. Maybe some old, probably inaccurate maps.
Okay, yeah.
Rumors passed down through generations of sailors.
Oh, I can see it now. Everyone huddled around this old chart, arguing over which constellation is the right one to follow, all while a storm's brewing on the horizon. Talk about pressure.
And those decisions, they have to have consequences, right?
Oh, for sure.
A wrong turn could send them days off course into uncharted waters, or worse.
Speaking of worse, you mentioned earlier that the real danger isn't always what it seems. What did you mean by that?
Sometimes the most terrifying creatures, they aren't the big, obvious ones.
Okay.
It's the small, insidious ones you've got to watch out for. So instead of a kraken, what if the players are being targeted by, say, a swarm of fish? But these aren't ordinary fish. They're tiny, incredibly intelligent, and they're picking away at the ship.
Ooh, now that's creepy. I don't like that at all.
See, it's like something out of a horror movie.
It really is.
And because they're so small, they can get into places a kraken never could, picking away at supplies, sabotaging equipment, you name it.
That's a really good point. Okay, I'm definitely using that. So we talked about the surface, but what about what lies beneath? Underwater exploration has to be a part of any good seafaring campaign, right?
Oh, absolutely. Sunken cities, coral reefs, all that's great. But what about something truly unexpected? Like a portal to another world, hidden deep beneath the waves.
Okay, now you're speaking my language. Where does it lead?
Maybe it's another plane of existence, a world populated entirely by merfolk. It's up to you. But imagine your players, they're exploring this sunken temple.
Okay, I'm with you.
And they find this shimmering portal, a place where the barriers between realities are thin.
So they step through, and they could be met with anything. Magic is commonplace, time moves differently.
Oh, man, the possibility.
And that's what makes it so fun, right? Suddenly the players aren't just dealing with pirates and krakens anymore. They're navigating entirely new cultures, creatures, maybe even new laws of physics.
This is what I love about seafaring campaigns. The potential for exploration is just limitless.
It's like the ocean itself.
No.
Vast, mysterious, and full of surprises.
Well said. So, to wrap things up here, it seems like the key to running an amazing seafaring campaign is to embrace the unexpected.
100%.
Make the ocean a character in itself and never underestimate the power of a good story.
And never be afraid to get creative. There you go. That's the most important part. So for all you dungeon masters out there, as you set sail on your own seafaring adventures, remember to tap into that creativity. Let your imaginations run wild.
Let the currents carry you to new and exciting destinations.
Who knows what treasures you'll find? Until next time, may the winds be ever in your favor, and may your adventures be filled with epic tales worthy of the high seas.